Hi, everybody. I was actually just taking some notes around a book, my second book that I'm writing, and I ran across some notes that I already had for a speech that I did, and it was entitled The Edge. And what really stuck out to me is that the frequency of the earth was around 7.5 hertz or 7.83 hertz for thousands of years. Since 2014, it has fluctuated as high as 16.5 hertz. Well, what that does is that speed, that frequency raises the vibration that's going on. Also, the increase of knowledge raises frequencies. When a frequency is raised, everything seems to just be going so fast. And when that happens, those who can raise their vibrations to go with that flow tend to get a rush. They tend to keep up. They tend to be able to complete more things. They tend to be able to accomplish more, do more, be more. They take advantage of that raised frequency. Um, those who have a low vibration are not able to necessarily keep up with that. They feel like the world is getting away from them. They become overly nostalgic. They try to hang on to things because there's a feeling that the world is slipping away from them. So you've been seeing an increase in suicide, an increase in drug use, an increase in the dissolving of relationships. Um, and what happens is that because everybody is operating on such different frequencies, see, when the earth is just on that one frequency for such a long period of time, and then it wildly fluctuates from year to year, time to time, sometimes day to day, um, on this frequency schedule or scale, what happens is everybody is at a different vibration, and that difference is magnified when that frequency scale is expanded like that. So if you have a frequency between 7.83 hertz and 8.5, and let's say that stayed like that for thousands of years, everybody pretty much was confined. You had a few people who were kind of flying off and doing their own thing. But around 2014, when it goes from 8.5 and as varies as wide as 16.5, that can cause a real shaking. Okay. Now, people who don't really pay attention to these things or don't even care, they can miss fine points because we are vibrations. We are a vibrational being. Like that's literally what our particles are doing in our bodies all the time. They're operating at these different frequencies. And those who are able to operate at high frequencies, meaning that they are operating at a high scale of emotional value, meaning that they are in the emotional value of joy and peace and enlightenment and happiness and gratefulness and all of those things that we think are so cheesy, right? We think those things are so out of touch with reality. But what people are doing consciously or subconsciously when they choose to be grateful, happy, peaceful, enlightened, joyful, and happy, and all of those emotions that a lot of people think are cheesy, they are choosing to vibrate their cells at a much higher frequency. This ensures that cancers don't settle in. It ensures that blood sugars stay uh, leveled, and that blood pressure stays leveled, and that the thyroid is operating properly, because these things do need a high vibration of energy in order to keep themselves balanced, right? Now, we're not going to just feel good alone, but you're going to eat right and exercise and do all those wonderful things. But even if you eat right, exercise, and do all those wonderful things, and you still are feeling very low, meaning that you feel guilt, you feel resentment, you feel regret, you feel shame, you feel apathy. Those things can bring all of your hard work down, because those are suppressing feelings, right? When you suppress anything, your immune system is automatically going to be suppressed, okay? And you can experiment with these on the days that you feel really, really low. Um, if you stay there long enough, you'll begin to catch more frequent colds, or more mysterious illnesses, or skin breakouts, or aches and pains that you've never had before. That is when the body is operating at a very, very low frequency. And so, if you take advantage of the fact that the earth is at a high frequency and you vibrate with that, you will feel much better. Those who don't will use drugs in order to detach from that feeling of being pulled by that high frequency. Those who don't raise their vibration will feel like the only way out is to stop their own vibration, to keep from feeling that pull. Okay, so or take prescription drugs, Valium, and all of your oxys and things like that. When you do go with that flow, some of the positive things, whether they sound positive or not, are going to be that you're going to shift out of the past faster than anyone else. And shifting out of the past is the best thing you can do. And I don't even know, I had my t-shirt on today. One of my favorite texts is Isaiah 43:18-19, that says, "Forget about the past. I'm about to do something new. Can you not see it? It's happening now. I'm creating rivers in the desert, and I'm creating a roadway through the wilderness." Right? And what that text is saying is, if you stay in the past, you're definitely going to miss what's happening now, right? Because what we don't realize is we live in a multi-dimensional verse, not even like a universe, but a multiverse. Okay. For in my Father's house there are many mansions, meaning many consciousness, many rooms, many places that you'll be able to go within the Father's house. If you expand your consciousness, if you can just stop being so constricting to yourself, when you want things to stay the same, when you want to hang on to the relationship, when you want to hang on to the worn out job, when you want to hang on to your worn out beliefs, when you want to hang on to your past accomplishments, rather than going out and being adventurous and seeking out new accomplishments, then what happens is when things go wrong, you don't really have anywhere to go within yourself, because it's so small. And then you feel like you're trapped. You feel smothered. You feel like the walls are closing in on you. But when you pay attention to the word, and you don't necessarily take it like the mansions are out there, the mansions are in here. The mansions are in your consciousness. For in my Father's house are many mansions. And if it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you, and when I go, there ye may be also. Take that. When I go, there ye may be also. Hold that. And then add in there, I and the Father are one. These works I do, so shall ye do also. And what is that saying? That these mansions are mansions that you have access to. In my Father's house, I and the Father are one. Where is the temple? The temple is within. The sanctuary is within. Heaven is within. When you feel like all of those things are outside of you, when you read those words, they go in one ear and out the other, and you can't wait to die so you can go there. Thus, the the romance that people have with suicide. Ah, I can't wait to go there. Hence the romance people have with drugs. Oh, I need to check out because I need to see these many mansions. So I need to be under the influence of something so that I can explore and expand, right? You can do that without that. Because the moment you come out from the drugs, you're right back if you have not done the work. You got a glimpse of something and then you're right back. So you need to do the drugs again in order to get that glimpse. The best thing you can do is get that glimpse on your own with a sober mind. Take yourself to the mansions, expand your consciousness so that when something disappoints you, when something tries to pull away from you, when the high frequency that we are now experiencing comes upon you and you feel it and you feel like the work, you can let go because you're not attached, because you have such a huge mansion and you have so many rooms in that mansion that when something is ripped away, you change your perspective, you go in another room. Something is changed, you change your perspective, you go in another room. You got many rooms to go in, right? Okay, so other things that will happen is you'll outgrow relationships quickly. People are beating themselves up because relationships aren't working. It's really hard for me to look at that as a sad thing because if the relationships are not working, that means that there is something that is off. If you all can't figure it out, then you know, you have to do something, right? People are not able to stay in limbo. You'll find a lot of couples who stay in toxic relationships, they're ill all the time, they're sick all the time, or they're tired. Oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna go take a nap. I'm so sleepy, I'm gonna go take a nap. Well, soon as they get out from up under that relationship, they're like, oh my God, since I've been divorced, my energy has increased. Or when I went on this long vacation, I felt so good. And then I came back and I was like, wow, I don't even know if I want to be in this relationship anymore because I just realized it's draining me. It's making me sick, right? Um, you will change belief systems. When the frequency is raised, knowledge is increased, consciousness is increased, and your belief system as you know it will change. The veil will be thinning because as this frequency gets higher and higher, the density on this three-dimensional plane will begin to decrease, right? And the reality as you know it will begin to crumble and um, you'll be able to see things that you weren't able to see before, right? So that it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing when there are changes happening on the planet. What makes it seem bad is the fact that people aren't really knowing what's going on and they're not able to handle it. And when people don't know what's going on and they react in a very negative way, then we like to say, oh, the world is getting bad. The world is getting bad. The world is not getting bad. People are not paying attention to their own vibration. People are lacking in discipline when it comes to controlling themselves through consciousness expansion and doing that without delusion. Okay? Because some people can become conscious, but conscious of what? Got to be careful with that because some people fall into these delusions. They think they're being enlightened and they're being misled. Okay? Um, so, one of the things that you can do that will help you deal with the changing frequencies on the planet that are shifting and happening is to control your emotions rather than circumstances. Stop trying to control circumstances. It's getting more and more difficult for people who participate, even though witchcraft is very, very predominant now. You can get it on the internet, you can go to the library. I mean, it's common knowledge. It's getting harder and harder and harder for people to work it because the frequencies on the planet are speeding up and getting so high. And one of the main ingredients in witchcraft, which it's not really witchcraft on a basic level, not saying that witchcraft does not exist, but most of what people call witchcraft is simply the mind's ability to influence its environment. You can do it, basically. Anybody can do it. Now, when you get into summoning all of these spirits and going into all kinds of demonology, going into ancient traditions of long standing rituals and things like that. Then you're getting into something much deeper, much stronger, right? Which you'll find a lot of people are doing now because the regular mind over matter stuff is not as effective, but it can be. And the reason why it can be, I'm hearing a lot of Christians saying, I've been praying and praying and praying, and I'm not getting the results that I used to get, right? A lot of times it's because the vibration is low. One of the quickest ways to raise your vibration and get the results from your prayer, which a lot of people used to know and do, they don't do it as much anymore, is to truly fast and pray. Truly fast and pray. Another thing that people leave out is this book right here. So many people have used it down through the years. I don't care which version you use. And some of the other holy scriptures, and even some of the lost books of the Bible that have been cut out. I have some of those emerald tablets, and then you have some other stuff, the lost book of Thomas, and all of those things. They're, if you're like me, those things are fun to read and delve into. I mean, I'm just one who just loves that, but there are people who just they don't really find that fun, right? But I do. I discover all kinds of neat little things in those books because a lot of times what you'll find is you're already doing something, you're already on the right track, but you're not consistent with it because you don't really know what it is. Have you ever read something in a scripture and say, oh my God, I do that? Or that reminds me of something that I thought of and I never knew that it was in here, right? So sometimes it's just confirmation. There's nothing new under the sun. We already come here knowing everything. But what we do when we come here, we choose one reality, we stick with it, and we don't see anything else. And so we forget what we know. We forget I am that I am. We forget these things. And then when we decide we want to read or we want to explore or we want to do things, then these things begin to come back to us very naturally, right? Well, controlling your emotions require you to go to the edge. Our emotions are no longer our emotions when we react. So it's very important that you own your emotions. Owning your emotion means that you feel it, but you're not reacting. Kind of like hermetics. Hermetics is all about controlling your breathing, controlling your blood pressure, controlling all of the things that's going on in your body, regardless of what's going on out here. Okay, but a lot of times, once again, we hand those things over. We say that's witchcraft. We say that's of the devil. We say that when it's really just your own power in you to be able to do those things, right? So what happens is if you think about it, I've never been bitten by a dog, right? I remember when I was a little kid and I had a dog. It was very, very feisty, and I would rub the dog and rub the dog and rub the dog and rub the dog. If I got too close to the tail, he would snap at me. If I got too close to his ears, he would snap at me. He snapped at me so many times, right? And I would just scream and cry and run in. Well, a couple of times I got really close and he snapped and I didn't move. Then I got close to his ears and he snapped. I didn't move. After a while, I was able to rub him wherever I wanted to rub him and he never snapped at me. So, which came first? My anxiety or him snapping? A lot of times people will say, well, heck, I wasn't scared until he snapped at me. Let's say that's the truth. Control yourself and don't react to the dog snapping, but just control your fear. The moment you control your fear, you have control of the dog. A lot of people will beg to differ, especially if you've ever been bitten by a dog, right? But I've never been afraid of dogs. Even when he snapped at me, I wasn't really afraid. I was just startled because I wasn't expecting it, but I wasn't afraid of the dog. Because had I been afraid of the dog, I would have never gone back and rubbed him again and again and again until he stopped snapping at me, right? But he didn't stop snapping at me until I got my fear under control, till I stopped reacting, right? This is how you change everything. You stop reacting. This is how you change everything. Now, you can scare people, you can throw people off, and you can, act like you're the baddest thing in town by reacting to everything, but you're not going to change anything. When I say change something, I mean change it on a cellular level so that literally when you walk in a room, you don't have to say anything. So that literally people who are supposed to be out of your life will drop off without you having to cut them off, you know. So this is something that you do, but you can only really do it through raising your frequency, through constantly breathing, getting proper oxygen and airflow, controlling the breath, um, making sure that you are doing things to keep the mind sharp, fasting, praying, reading, positive things, putting positive things inside of your temple, right? Um, and when you go to the edge, you have to go towards the dark. Many times we are afraid of the dark. When things get dark, we back off, right? When you go to the edge and it's dark, something magical happens. Your soul awakens and begins to light the way. And you realize, wow, I can see in the dark. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but if you turn your lights off, and as soon as your eyes kind of get adjusted, you can see in the dark. And if it's pitch black and you can't see anything, you can begin to feel, and your ears begin to be able to hear when your way is obstructed. And you may pause a little bit whenever something is in front of you, beside you, behind you, and you're like, I felt that. I didn't see it, but I felt it. Okay? This is how our emotions are. Okay? When you confront them, when you go deep in there, and when you get control of them and you own them and you bring them up to a high vibration and you take your emotions out of fear and into joy and into gratitude and into happiness and into enlightenment. See, a lot of us don't want to be enlightened. A lot of us don't want to know more. A lot of us don't want to expand our consciousness because we are afraid. Right? We run into things that we've been told are evil. We run into things that we've been told are bad and that are dark and are, gonna lead us to the depths of hell. We run into ourselves, parts of ourselves that people have told us to keep hidden, or don't say anything, or don't tempt that part of yourself, right? Go there. Go there. Go there sober, without drugs. Go there without a whole lot of food and fat around your body to insulate you from the pain. Go there without the thought of, oh, I got to kill myself in order to get out of this, right? Change the channel. Change the frequency. Dial in to life. And as you raise that frequency, you will see that the things that you were once afraid of were all in your mind. The fears were all in your mind. The very things that you are afraid of are the very things that are going to give you the power that you need in order to raise your frequency and to be able to keep up with what's going on in the world today. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you find the nerve to take things to the edge. Of course, I do mindscaping sessions and I do things to help people to be able to embrace the parts of them that they are rejecting, even if you don't know you're rejecting them, to pull people out of fear, to expand their consciousness, to open their mind so that they can change their mind one thought at a time. Because when you change your mind, you change your world. Okay, reconstruct the world by reconstructing your mind. I know you can do it. Bye.